Hi, it's Paul again. We are going to talk about the stages of research in this tutorial. So again, this is my contact information if you have any questions or want to get a hold of me. The stages of research, I've kind of divided it up into 5.5 different stages. Some of them take more time than others, but I'm going to go through each of them. The idea that we have to generate ideas, and many times, our ideas for research or for a paper are limited by what your professor, the parameters that your professor is going to give you. So you have to do a lit review on something to do with psychology. So that kind of narrows down what your ideas can be. But I also really recommend that just because your professor gives you the parameters doesn't mean that it has to be something boring or something that's not interesting to you. You're more than welcome to work with me. I would encourage you to work with your professor to try to find an idea or a topic that is very interesting to you. Believe me, there's nothing worse than trying to do research or write about a topic that you just don't care about. So let's try to find something that works for you. There's a concept called pre-searching. So many people use Google, Wikipedia, or the traditional encyclopedia in order to find more information about a particular topic. Now, let me just be very clear that this is not the final stage of research. So we need to go maybe use Google or Wikipedia or an encyclopedia in order to create, to flesh out and to explore a particular topic in order to figure out what exactly we want to do our research on. Part of that process is taking a really broad topic, like maybe post-traumatic stress disorder, and doing that pre-search process where we can narrow PTSD into some manageable researchable topic. So for example, we can't do a 5-page lit review on all of PTSD because it's just way too big and complex of a topic. After we get through the pre-search process, we can identify like maybe what population of people we want to do the lit review on who deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, or maybe we want to narrow our topic not just upon population, but maybe the treatment or the therapy process, for example. So both of those things will help us through the pre-search process identify a narrow topic that's manageable and is reasonable within the parameters of the assignment. Secondly, we do that pre-search process because we have to identify the key words or key concepts, key events or key dates that are relevant to our narrowed topic. There are many different ways to describe something. Often in my face-to-face classes, I will have this image of like a Coke can or something, and I'll have students tell me what this is. And students will say, well, it's a Coke, well, it's Coca-Cola, well, it's a soda, it's pop, it's a carbonated beverage, it's red, it's a aluminum can. It's one student even said diabetes in a can. So there are many different ways to describe the same thing, and by doing that pre-search process, we can identify the many alternative keywords that are relevant to our particular topic. And I run into this in my own research as well, that sometimes the terminology or the keywords that I'm using to try to find literature on that particular topic are not the keywords or the terminology that is being used by that particular database. A great example might be you're doing research on Obamacare, for example, but you may or may not be finding the results that you want, but you need to expand it by calling it the Affordable Care Act. So that is the actual name of the legislation, whereas Obamacare is the politically charged nickname for it. You might get different results based upon the two different terminologies, but in conversation with, like, between you and I, we could easily interchange those two terms and we know what we're talking about. Third, we have to take the pre-search concepts of narrowing, identifying the populations or the treatment, and those various alternative keywords and the information that we glean through that pre-searching process, and apply it to our particular databases. And in this class, you'll be predominantly using a database called PsycInfo, and we'll get to that in a later tutorial. But I put the re in parentheses because we initially do a search in PsycInfo, but we may not find all of the results that we want, and so we need to continue with that pre-searching in PsycInfo in order to find keywords or terminology, or maybe even further narrow our topic, and we need to research it. So that is just a very cyclical process. You need to keep redoing it in order to find the results that you want. Fourth, we need to evaluate the things that we find. We need to rate the articles or the sources that we find, anywhere from poor to great or somewhere in between. Things that we want to consider are, how does this fit into my research topic? Does this article answer a specific question that I'm trying to come up with? Does it offer information that other articles don't? Does it offer a counterpoint to other types of research that's being done on my topic? And maybe I need to address that in my particular paper. We need to figure out if a source is authoritative or not. So we're going to talk about the differences between scholarly and popular articles in a future video, but we need to figure out, is this article written by some random person on BuzzFeed, or is this article written by an expert psychologist who has been doing this type of research on this topic for years? So they are much better at that particular authority. And then lastly, we need to obviously select the articles that we are going to be using for our research. Just keep in mind that maybe we start writing our assignment, our paper, or our lit review, but we need to go back to stage 3 for research. So maybe the articles we selected are good, but they're not quite what we're looking for. So don't be afraid to go back and forth between stages 3, 4, and 5.